Hey guys, welcome back to the Gut Girls podcast. We are so excited to be here with you today, and we are going to dive in to 5 gut health myths, that TikTok keeps telling women about their health and about bloating. Because we know that when there is a problem with health or bloating, the first place that most people are going to go to is social media. And so what we want to talk about today is like I said, probably been Googling, let's think like probably best probiotic for bloating. We've actually heard that question a lot. How do I get rid of my belly bloat? Like I'm now middle aged, and is a probiotic going to fix this? How do I, deal with my leaky gut, my food intolerance? Gosh, probably the top one Diana and I hear is like, do I do a parasite cleanse? Is that going to solve all of my problems? And so if you've spent hours looking at these reels on social media or TikTok, or even spend time on TikTok Shop to order the most, up to date, I say that in quotes because, the most talked about probiotic or supplement on the market to help with these solutions. The problem with that is there's so much information out there. I mean, you guys, we are all overwhelmed, bombarded with what we should be doing. Everyone is telling us what we should be doing. Everyone has an opinion. So today we're going to walk through those 5 gut health myths, and we are going to talk about what your body may actually be trying to tell you, through the symptom, rather than just jumping into buying the, most well-marketed product out there. So I'm going to hand it over to Diana to tell us, Diana, what is myth number 1?
So myth number 1 is going to be, if you're bloated, you're eating the wrong foods. And we hear that all the time, that people are like, hey, I have a problem with dairy. I have a problem with gluten or beans or fruit, or seed oils or vegetables. People are doing all the different things to try to figure out which foods are causing them symptoms. And so, in fact, a lot of our clients are feeling significantly better. Like when they come to us, they've already tried, like, hey, I need to eliminate these kind of foods. I need to, I notice that when I eat garlic or onions or grains or whatever the case may be, that I'm feeling better. But this is the really important word to this is it's temporary, right? So this is not just, we don't want you eliminating these foods for the rest of your life. So then it's like, okay, so what do I do, at that point? And so the question is not what's wrong with the food, but it's why is my body struggling with this food right now? Mm-hmm. So Angela, tell us a little bit more about, the bloating side to that, as far as like it's connected to the gut health that people and the foods that they're like frantically searching to eliminate.
Yeah. And I think the word here is like their nervous system, right? So it's interesting because if you guys have worked with us, or even if you haven't, I mean, like Diana said, yeah, there's going to be foods that your body can't handle right now, but we really like peel layer back to find out, okay, what is the state of your body when you're eating that food? Or where's the state of your body been for the past 5 years that it can't get into that parasympathetic rest and digest state to digest broccoli? Because, like, let's be honest, broccoli is a very fibrous food. You guys have, if you've listened to our podcast, you've heard like broccoli is one of the top foods that we find people actually, that it's quote unquote healthy, right? Because it is healthy, but it might not be healthy for you in the moment because your body, it may be in such a chronic stress state or chronic depletion state. And so that healthy food is actually causing the bloating because it's so fibrous that your body can't break it down. It can't get into that rest and digest food. And then people don't understand like quantities, right? I mean, we live in America. Portion sizes, quantities are so, exaggerated. And so they don't really understand that like a little bit can go a long way. So Diana, you are so right to say it's not the food, right? In fact, in Gut Girls, we coach to have, our goal is for you to have the most diverse diet when you are done working with us in color. We want the color of the rainbow. We want you to actually have a large tool belt of food to choose from when you are trying to nurture your body and recover and feed it what it needs. And so, like she said, restrictions can be temporary until we get to the root, which is probably poor digestion. You're probably not secreting enough digestive juices. Your gut lining may be so depleted that every single food that you put into your body is causing this over responding immune system. Like it's this over responding approach to everything that comes into your body. That's what your immune system's doing. And so once we get to the root of it, then we actually can find, like, okay, as you continue working with us, we bring back all of those foods. And it's so great. Diana, I think of several of our clients who went from 10 foods to all the foods. I mean, there's no restriction, like none at all. They've learned the quantities, they've learned what foods to eat under stress that serve their bodies better, all of the things, what to eat after having a virus. Like they've learned so much about their bodies that food is now medicine. Isn't that beautiful?
I love it. And I do absolutely think of Sarah, and I know she wouldn't care if we say her name, because she's like, use my picture in my face, because she was truly only eating, when she came to us, she was only eating, I think, 5 foods, and she was absolutely miserable. And now in our Gut Girls community, she actually posts different foods and colorful bowls and things that she's able to eat now and tolerate well, because we were able to use the tool of the GI map test to see what was going on. And so I feel like this is kind of the perfect segue. You were talking about the gut lining and, maybe that being so depleted. And so one of the second myth that we talk about is everybody needs a probiotic. And so when we talk about taking a probiotic, a lot of times, you're going to hear, I've taken a lot of antibiotics, so I need this probiotic or whatever. And everybody probably knows, if you've been listening to the podcast long enough, then you know that I owned a wellness store for 8 years. And I saw thousands and thousands of people come in saying that, they've seen on social media, they need a probiotic. How does this help? And I think this is what I really need. And so they're looking for this magic fix for this probiotic. And so if somebody's actually struggling with those kind of symptoms, like, poor digestion, and they're like, this is going to be my one fix. But we see that there could be a whole realm of things, right? I mean, we could be looking at, some inflammation, we could be a stressed nervous system, but they think that the probiotic is going to be that quick fix. And I mean, this is what social media is telling us. Everybody's seeing it on TikTok, right?
Yeah. Well, there's even a probiotic on the market. I'm not going to, I will not remember the name correctly, so I'm not going to mention it. But basically, if you guys ever heard, there's a whole procedure out there called a fecal transplant, meaning that, like, for people that are critically ill, they will literally put other people's fecal matter into the colon, because they're trying to basically get good growth, right? They're trying to, like, their body has rejected themselves, and so they're trying to, like, get regrowth. They're trying to get the body to build something it hasn't been able to on its own. And so then they came out with a probiotic on the market that basically is that, like, in that probiotic is basically, it's like a non-procedural way to have the fecal transplant done. And I remember when it first came out, I was like, my phone got blown up, my email got blown up of, like, could this be the solution? And I'm like, I'm not saying that there isn't some time or place for that, but no, it is probably not the quick fix, because even if you take someone else's fecal matter and put it into a body, like you just said, Diana, that is stressed out, like so inflamed, that person is so disconnected from their body, you're going to have the same result, right? So it's truly amazing how we can be so sucked into, like, this is it. This is the thing you've been waiting for, when you can't escape the work. And I say that in quotes because it's a journey. It's a transformational journey. You can't escape the work that has to be done to get to true healing.
Yeah. And I love the idea of, this, not looking for this quick fix, because in reality, when we look at it, it would be like on a car. Let's say we have this car, it has the engine light on, and instead of figuring out why the engine light is on, you go put new tires on the car. maybe there's another problem here that you're fixing the tires, but you're not figuring out why the engine light is on. And that's why we love the GI map test so much as a tool, because it really gives us an idea of the probiotic that may or may not be necessary during the healing process. Because sometimes we're looking at bacterial overgrowth with people, and we're like, hey, right now we need to kind of pump the brakes on the probiotic. And we kind of explain that to them and walk them through their personalized GI map test. So if that's you and you're like, I've tried every probiotic on the market, that may not be the right tool for you to use at this time.
Yeah. And don't feel like, guilty or ashamed of like, I fell for it. We all do, honestly. And that's kind of the reason we have this podcast, is to have the real conversations. So you are not alone if you've bought the probiotic. And then that kind of takes us into myth number 3, because I think a lot of people have probably done this. And I would say, like, in my history, I've done it too. But myth number 3 is that you need a cleanse, a detox, or a parasite protocol to heal your symptoms. I mean, how many times, Dana, do we get blown up with like, do I need to do a parasite protocol? It's probably one of the biggest questions we get, don't you think?
Absolutely. And again, when I had people just randomly come into my store, that's like, they'd either call, do you have a parasite cleanse? And I'm like, well, so, sometimes I went into this long explanation of it and they're like, oh, okay. And, once you know and understand a little bit more about, there's just so much more that goes into this parasite protocol. And we have to be, we're very real, because sometimes there are people that are like, I do have a parasite. I know that I have a parasite. And there's some people that are having all these weird symptoms and they do pop up that they have a parasite on their GI map test. So we've seen them, but not everybody that's necessarily bloated has a parasite. There could be a whole slew of other things that we're looking at that time.
Yeah. And not every, digestive symptom like bloating requires an aggressive like detox or protocol. I mean, honestly, that could make you worse if you don't really know what's going on at the root of that. And we see that a lot too, to be honest. And so instead of, I guess what Diana and I would challenge you to do is, instead of seeking out, the perfect cleanse or the perfect parasite approach, start with the basics. We're probably boring to you guys because we keep going back to the basics, but it's fundamental, and it doesn't cost, like, you can go pay huge money. Some of these parasite cleanses, guys, I mean, they're intense. I mean, we've recommended them before when it was appropriate, like after you've done this foundational work that I'm about to walk you through. But you don't just do a parasite cleanse for 2 weeks. You do a parasite cleanse when it is time to address the parasite for a while. And then there's other things you have to do with it, like manage the adrenals, you know what I mean? And support the foundation. So instead of, throwing away all that money, start with the simple things. Are you eating enough protein? Number 1, because even if you go to do the parasite cleanse, if you are under eating protein, you are going to feel so much worse doing that. Diana would probably say, are you hydrated, right? That's one of the simplest things that we recommend. Like, are you getting your electrolyte in? Are you moving? I mean, if you want to detox, let's be honest, you can detox through sweat. You can detox, like through your physical body by just moving. Heck, you can even detox emotional stress by moving, because that is one way to work it through your body. What about sleep? We actually talked to our 6-year-old who fights sleep like no other all the time. In fact, I was just telling Diana earlier today, I was like, she had a huge week of summer camp last week, and she's a little under the weather this week with like a little cough. And it was a prime time to be like, hey, babe, you were wired and tired all last week and you fought your sleep. No matter what we do, you're not going to feel better till you catch up on some rest. And so, are you sleeping? Gosh, there's so many things here, Diana. I mean, are they chewing their food? Are they going to the bathroom regularly? If you're not pooping every day, guys, that's one of the biggest ways to detox. So like, let's focus on that before we try to do a parasite cleanse. Could you imagine, Diana, doing now that, like, as a gut girl, think of like your old self. If you were like, I mean, probably when I first did your stool test too, I remember you had a parasite and you were probably like, get this thing out of me. But you also struggled with constipation. So imagine pouring all this like parasitic, herbs and stuff into your body and not going to the bathroom every day. Could you imagine how that person would feel?
No, and I almost interrupted you just a minute ago because as you were talking through this, and of course, this isn't scripted or anything. You were talking through it, and I was like, man, this is exactly truly my story with the parasite too, right? I mean, sure, I was moving my body, I was exercising at that time, but I was completely stressed out. My nervous system, we talk about how I was all the time, I was stressed all the time. And you're right, I wasn't pooping regularly. I was
Mhm.
super constipated using laxatives. I mean, heck, I was doing enemas. I was laying in the floor, bawling my eyes out, trying to do anything I could just to try to get some movement. And I mean, no wonder I had a parasite on my test, right? I wasn't able to eliminate anything. So, I think back to when you originally told me, and remember, I had zero idea about gut health other than I had researched a couple of things and tried to diagnose myself with stuff. But once you told me that I had a parasite, I was like, oh gosh, like, how do we get rid of this thing? And you're
Mhm.
like, if you want to get rid of it the right way, you do all the foundational work, you set your host up to be a healthy host. And meaning that part of that means that you eliminate well, so that you eliminate the parasite naturally. Because what is it, like 1 in 6 or 1 in 7 people have a parasite,
Yeah.
right? So it's a matter of making sure that that host is healthy enough to be able to eliminate it well. So
Well, and not even like not like, this could be a whole nother myth, but it actually plays off of this when people want to chase mold, and they want to chase like mycotox, like all the mycotoxins, all the heavy metals. I think of the same exact thing. Imagine trying to eliminate that when you're not actually like you don't have a way to eliminate it. So before you chase all that stuff, this is so fundamental. You're
it
exactly right.
is. Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into myth number 4. We also hear this one a lot, and it is stress has nothing to do with bloating. We have almost all of our clients come to us and we're like, you're when you are stressed out like that, you cannot heal. So we do so much work on the nervous system because that's the number one thing for the foundational tool. Honestly, guys, even before the food part, we work on the nervous system part because 100% your bloating does have something to do with your stress, most likely. And so it is interesting, we talk about, once we finally connect those dots for people, like, are you on vacation? Are you in a stressful season of your life and all that? And once we kind of connect all those dots for them, they really start to understand it a little bit more.
I just had a consultation with a client of ours that she's been a long time client, but she just got back on vacation, or she came back from vacation. And I was asking her, how was it? And she's like, it was odd that I was going every other day because she's used to being regular. And it was simply that. I mean, she was on vacation, but honestly, you guys know vacations are not always what we think they're going to be. They're stressful, especially when you have family, and she was with family in like a big family setting. And so she was like, I went on vacation, I started going every other day. It wasn't necessarily, it was probably a combination of things, but one of it was just there's a lot to manage when you're on vacation with kids and all the things. And so when your bowel movements start becoming irregular, I'd go back. The first thing I'd ask you is like, what changed? Not your food, maybe not your diet, but what changed in your life at that time? What was going on? And so I think that that's huge. And then to take it a step farther for listeners, I would say, because I have worked so much with the physical body as a chiropractor here in Virginia, I would say that one thing I notice with women is we tend to clench when we are stressed. And that, guys, when I say clench, I'm talking like, it's so interesting. When I was a chiropractic student, and I was at the beach, I was very blessed to pick a very good chiropractic school. I was at the beach, but we would sit and we would watch people walk down the beach, and you would see women with literally their butt like clenched, like their butt was clenched the whole time. And it's interesting because you wouldn't look at that if you weren't trained through the chiropractic lens, but that is someone holding stress in the pelvic floor. Like the world around them seems stressful. And so they are responding with a clenched, hypertonic pelvic floor. If you are walking around with a very hypertonic, clenched pelvic floor, do you think you're going to go to the bathroom? Like, no, you've got to release that first, right? And so that goes back to stress, this myth of like stress has nothing to do with bloating. If you are clenched, your food is not digesting, you're not having regular bowel movements, you're going to feel it with more like the extension of the actual physical abdominal muscles, right? There's food literally sitting there pushing against it. Or I could take it a step farther and say that your muscles aren't actually trained to handle stress well. So you clench instead of relaxing. And what happens when I take a big bolus of food and I press it against a very tight muscle? That's pressure. So that's bloating, right? And so when people don't even think of that, I'm like, oh gosh, we're missing a whole avenue of where bloating is coming from. So it's a lot of things, right? And so guys, I hope that really helps change your perspective on your bloat if that is you today.
Yeah, something that we haven't talked about on here, and you and I really haven't talked about it a whole lot, is that I actually, when I was going through what I call the cycle of trial and error through in 2016, going from doctor to doctor, they actually told me that I had a slight rectocele. And you and I haven't really spent a whole lot of time talking about that, but I thought this is a perfect time to throw that out. Because you were talking about the bulge and the pelvic floor, and a lot we see that we hear that a lot with women who are constipated like myself, and that comes to for the clenching and all of that stuff as well.
Well, because that's a weakness, right, in the pelvic floor. If you guys don't know what a rectocele is, I mean, that is a weakness. We see it a lot postpartum, right, because we just pushed a baby out. But that's a weakness in the pelvic floor. And if that weakness is there, the body is super good at surviving, right? I mean, it's great, which so glad that we can survive a lot of things in life, but it's really good at surviving where that the muscles around that weakness in the pelvic floor, they actually may tighten just to protect this weak spot, right? So then it's really interesting. I think we all have, when we have babies, we're like, oh, we probably have a weak pelvic floor. You probably most women do, but then it's like most women respond very differently. Some respond by tightening up, some respond by staying very, loose. And so you really do have to get to know your pelvic floor postpartum, regardless if it's your first or fourth. I would say you should definitely have that pelvic floor checked out and know, if that's a problem for you, for sure.
All right, Angela, what's our myth number 5?
Okay, so you kind of have heard us talk about this a little bit with the other myths, but 5 brings it home. And that is that there is no quick fix, guys. That's myth number 5. No matter what you see on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook with, I think of castor oil. We use castor oil. If you don't know what that is, it is an approach to honestly help relax the muscles, to help detoxification. But you'll see it's totally overblown on social media to say, this is the one thing you haven't tried yet. And it's going to solve all of your problems. So everyone runs out and buys the castor oil pack. You know what I mean? Or think of the GLP-1 peptides on the market. We've done a whole podcast on this, so go back and listen to that. But we are hearing more and more as time goes on that is not what, people thought it was, because it's marketed, without a lot, I would say, of regulation around it. You know what I mean? And so when you jump on social media and you hear like this peptide, this castor oil, this probiotic, this fermented drink is going to solve all your problems. The myth that we're trying to bust is it's not. It could definitely be a piece of your transformation journey, no doubt. But guys, Diana and I have coached thousands of women, and we have been so blessed to see their transformations. And the most beautiful transformations are the women who get it, that this is a process. I think, Diana, you always use the term of like, this is not a race, it's a marathon. And so when they really step back and they're like, okay, I'm just committed to work with you guys, through it all, we get to see their gut, we get to move on to their hormones. I mean, we get to know them personally because we get to know like what they're eating every day, what their stresses are, and they learn the whole picture, and they learn how to sustain their progress. That's probably the biggest thing, is they learn how to sustain it. If you fall for the quick fix, you might get what you want, but it's probably going to be temporary. And so again, there's no shame in that. That's not what we're doing here. It's just, we want to remind you that like, we are here no matter where you are, no matter if you've tried the quick fix and you have fallen, or, you didn't take any step because you're so paralyzed with information. we are a safe place to come, where there's no judgment, and just to walk you through one layer of healing at a time. Because gosh, I mean, think about all that we carry as women in this world anyways, like the hats that we wear, the many hats that we wear. If we put 20 more hats on you, guys, it's not going to be successful. But if we help you peel back one thing at a time, it actually feels freeing. There's peace, there's understanding, there's wisdom that you gain, there's empowerment. I mean, Dana, these women that have really honed in on the myth of number 5, like our women who have got that, they understand that that's truly a myth and that doesn't exist in the real world. They have been our most successful transformations, have they not?
They have, and it's because they understand so much about the fact that this has to become your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have to have a perfect diet? Do you have to never be stressed? Do you have to work out every day? No, like we're not asking you to be perfect. But what we are trying to teach is that your body is telling you something. So the symptom is not necessarily the enemy. It's your body absolutely telling you something. It's sending you a message. So the bloating is a message. The constipation was a message for me that I needed to do something else. And I didn't need to look for these quick fixes. There was no one thing that was going to be my cure. It was going to force me to make the change in all aspects of my life, right?
I mean, heck, the parasite was a message, was it not for you?
100%. I mean, and again, it was one of those things like none of my doctors had found that I had a parasite, right? And so if I would have, and then it was like I had the option at that point if I wanted to go back to the doctor and get an antibiotic, but I'm like, well, wait a second, that's just going to cause even more harm. And why am I hanging on to this parasite? So I am so thankful for you to teach me to dig a little bit deeper and to figure out why I was hanging on to this. Like, why am I not eliminating, and listen to all the messages that my body was giving me? I mean, when my joints were achy so bad, my hips, that I literally could not get out of bed, that was my body at age 30 or 31, whatever it was at the time, telling me this is not right. And so I'm so thankful that I listened to that, and I'm thankful I came to you. And now one of the things that I'm so blessed that I've been able to do is work with you on in this Gut Girls membership, in this community and supportive group, because again, we all don't have it perfect. I mean, I still enjoy my different foods and go on vacation and have stressful times and, all the different things. And so it's like, how do you balance it all out? And that's what we're all trying to do together. And it's so cool to see.
Yeah. And I would even, bonus myth right now, as I hear you say that, is the myth is you can do this by yourself, and you can't. It's just not successful. And Diana just reminded me of that, which was not a scripted myth, but literally just her saying like she needed the community. And that's where our women transform, is when they bring it to the table and they have accountability, not even just through us, right, Diana? I mean, through other women, accountability. It's amazing. So I would say the last bonus myth is you need a community, and you need a place to turn to. And we're here for you. That is, why we built this business. 1,000%. So Dinah, if they are looking to get connected to us, how do they do that?
We just revamped our website, and we're constantly kind of updating and changing things. So if there's something that's a little bit under construction that you go to see, but I would invite you to go to gutgirls.health, look at our website. That's our homepage. And really, I think that you're going to see kind of those connection points, and that we're going to start to understand hopefully how you're feeling in this moment. And we do, just like Angela said, we want to be here for you. So that's the best thing to do, is to go to our website, gutgirls.health. And you can do a free 15-minute consult with us. And we're happy to kind of set you up and share with you how we believe you should get started with us. There are a couple of different ways, and so we can kind of talk through that then. So thank you all for listening today, and hopefully this hit home with you. If you've been kind of scrambling and Googling and TikToking and all the things, hopefully this has kind of pulled it all together for you. So we look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.
The Gut Girls podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. We are not acting as licensed medical professionals. Always consult your doctor before making any changes to your health routine.